Salvation is my best gift ever. You're the tree of life. I was lost, now I am found.
Let's talk prophecy today. Prophecy time. The tough topic, prophecy. The romance between Russia and Iran. Putin visit to Iran and prophecy. What does it have to do with prophecy? The visit of Russia, Vladimir Putin, with Iran, what does it have to do with prophecy? Prophecy time, let's see. First of all, the first question you have to ask yourself when it comes to current situation in Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Damascus, all over the world, you have to ask yourself, why Putin to Iran, not the other way around? Why did Putin go to Iran, not Iran going to Russia? Well, you have to understand this. It's a win-win situation because both Iran and Russia are facing international sanctions. They are both on the same boat. In my country where I come from, Rwanda, we have a saying that goes like this. The one who is most concerned is the one who takes the first step. That means seeing Russia in the midst of the war with Ukraine, that's why Putin thinks it's time to go and learn how Iran survives sanctions. And of course, it's more than that because it's not only about sanctions, it's about how they can work together as friends or allies and overcome those sanctions. Remember, the other day, I showed you the Ukraine vision I received in 2010. So the war in Ukraine, started by the Russians, but pushed by the Americans, has a lot to do with the trip of Putin to Iran. Let's continue. These talks used to happen behind closed doors. Remember, even though we are not shown, or we were not shown in the past, if Russia wants to talk with Iran, they would not go public and show to everyone in front of cameras, right? It was conducted down behind closed doors. So now the question is, why now going public? So Putin is not afraid or ashamed to show the world, here I am in Iran, discussing no matter what they are discussing about, but this to say that we can no longer trust the West, and I have given up on the West. So this is Putin showing the West, look, I am no longer with you. I'm going to go my way with Iran. Turkey now is there as well, Russia and China, and of course Damascus. Remember, Damascus has not fallen yet 100%, but remember the Bible says that Damascus will fall and will cease to exist once for all. So Bashar al-Assad is still there, Iran is there, China is there, now Turkey, Erdogan is there, plus Putin. So all these guys, of course, they have to defend their own interests first, but seeing that they are all facing the same sanctions, of course, those sanctions are going to push them together, form a coalition, a bloc, as we are going to see in a minute. Now, number 3, the USA relation with Russia. As I said the other day, back to this book, Ukraine War, that I received a vision in 2010 and turned this into a book in 2020, there is now a big hate between Russia and USA. This is not a secret anymore. It's true. Russia and US, they no longer are friends, or maybe fake friends like they used to be, Because Russia is saying we can no longer depend on the West. They can never ever trust the West because there's now a kind of hate, a clear hate between Russia and the USA. We know that because Russia cannot meet with the US in a direct talk. They have to go through other entities and countries such as Israel, Turkey, and so forth. This is true. So the relation between US and Russia is almost gone for good, and this is going to cause a danger in the future because seeing how Russia is seeking help from Iran, Turkey, China, and of course eyeing with Damascus, this is going to create something interesting in the future. Let's see. Number 4. Now, here is what's interesting. The relation between Israel and Iran. A few weeks ago, when the war in Ukraine broke, I asked myself, prophecy is coming to pass. But prophecy cannot come to pass without Israel being the center. Israel has to be the center. Then you look to Ukraine and Russia, the war that is taking place in Ukraine, and try to imagine how prophecy is going to be fulfilled. Just based on that, I could not figure out how prophecy was about to pass. Because, again, Israel was not at the center. But what let me thought about prophecy is when the Israel Prime Minister Bennett went to Russia. Remember? A few days after the Ukraine war started, the Israel Prime Minister flew to Moscow and met with Putin. So that made me think, oh, Israel is coming and this. And that time, we can't, or I could not say that it's prophecy. But the prophecy with Israel comes in when you see the relation between Israel and Iran. This is how prophecy is going to be fulfilled because Israel cannot tolerate to see Russia coming together with Iran. Remember, Iran is enemy with Israel. So, seeing Iran coming together with Russia, then pose a question mark. That says even what Putin discussed with Israel Prime Minister back then when he went to Moscow is useless. Because I cannot come to you, discuss things, and then a few months later, you go to my enemy, number one, and have even more discussion, serious discussion, perhaps behind my back, right? So this caused a threat to Israel because Iran being in talks with Russia, it's direct danger, as we are going to see, because Putin going to Iran, it's direct say that we can even give nuke to Iran. Here is why. Let's see. Remember, number 5, Iran has an ambition to have nukes, to have nuclear bombs, right? So, what does it mean? Russia knows that if Iran returns to the negotiations with the West, it's a danger. It's a threat because Russia prefers a nuclear Iran than pro-West Iran. Let me repeat again. Russia knows that it's better to have Iran with nuclear bombs than having Iran that is pro-West. So that's to say, Russia does not want to see Iran going pro-West or going back to the negotiations with the 2015 negotiations about the nukes. Remember? So Russia prefers rather to see Iran with nukes than being pro-West. This is what's going on. So, number 6. This is possible World War III blocks formation. So, remember, World War I, World War II, all these wars had 2 blocks. One to the left, the other one to the right. So these blocks, they were formed over time, which is happening now. So Putin going to Iran, joined by Turkey, Erdogan, having in mind Damascus with Bashar al-Assad and China. Of course, the more sanctions continue to take effect in both Iran and Russia, of course, they are going to come together and they're going to find a way to overcome sanctions. And the only way I can see they're going to use is going to war. This is going to war with the West. So now, number 7. How fast prophecy is coming to pass? This is prophecy being fulfilled, but yet we are to see the full action when the 2 blocks we have formed, and then they're going to go toward each other. And again, we have to see Israel, the full picture, because a lot of things are happening behind closed doors, but also many things are going to happen very, very fast. Things are going to be happening one after another, 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 because prophecy is going to be fulfilled. There can not only be a war without being fulfilling the prophecy, like it's written in the Bible. So remember, prophecy is being fulfilled. Now, this is prophecy being fulfilled, but yet we are to see prophecy unfolding before our eyes like it's written, and better put yourself right with God so that everything will happen and find you ready and repentant. Thank you very much for watching. May God bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Salvation is my best gift ever. You're the tree of life. I was lost, now I am found.